Apostrophes. An apostrophe is a punctuation mark that is used with a noun to show a possession or to indicate where a letter has been left out to form a contraction. Possession. An apostrophe and the letter S indicates who or what owns something. To show possession with a singular noun, add apostrophe S. Jen, apostrophe S. Jen's dance routine mesmerized everyone in the room. The dog's leash is hanging on the hook beside the door. Jess's sister is also coming to the party early. Notice that singular nouns that end in S still take the apostrophe S ending to show possession. To show possession with a plural noun that ends in S, just add only the apostrophe, no S. If the plural noun does not end in S, add an apostrophe and an S apostrophe S. Plural noun that ends in S. The drummer's sticks all moved in the same rhythm, like a machine. Plural noun that does not end in S. The people's voice clearly showed that no one supported the management's decision. Contraction. A contraction is a word that is formed by combining two words. In a contraction, an apostrophe shows where one or more letters have been left out. Contractions are commonly used in informal writing, but not in formal writing. I do not like ice cream. I don't like ice cream. Notice how the words do and not have been combined to form don't. The apostrophe shows where the O in not has been left out. We will see you later. We'll see you later. And so we'll is the contraction for we will. So look at this chart for some examples of some commonly used contractions. Aren't, can't, doesn't, don't, isn't, he'll, I'll, she'll, they'll, you'll, it's, let's, she's, theirs, whose. So all of these contractions are used in conversational English, but if you're going to write in formal English, you need to write out your contractions and write are not, cannot, does not, do not, is not, he will, I will, she will, they will, you will, it is, it has, let us, she is, she has, there has, who is, and who has. Be careful not to confuse it's with its. Its is a contraction of the words it and its is a possessive pronoun. It's cold and rainy outside, and this its stands for it is cold and rainy outside. The cat was chasing its tail. Show that the tail belongs to the cat. When in doubt, substitute the words it is in a sentence. If the sentence still makes sense, use the contraction it's. This is a key takeaway. Use apostrophes to show possession. Add apostrophe s to singular nouns and plural nouns that do not end in s. And add to plural nouns that end in s. Use apostrophes in contractions to show where a letter or letters have been left out. So basically, people get confused between the apostrophe s that's used in possession, such as John's notebook, and then contractions, it's a nice day. And so in a contraction, the apostrophe s stands for it is. And then in the possession, then the apostrophe s is for possession. And so that's the two things that you have to remember when you do your punctuation, is not to confuse contractions and possessions. And so that pretty much ends this one, and then we'll do chapter 4, section 4. So chapter 4, section 4 is about revising and editing. And so revising and editing is the last stage of the writing process. The first two stages of the writing process is pre-writing, where you decide what it is you want to write about and write an outline. Then the second stage of the writing process is writing stage, where you transfer your outline into a 5-paragraph rough draft. Then the last stage of the writing process is rewriting, And the rewriting consists of 2 stages: revision and editing. And in revision, you check for your essay structure. You make sure you've got good essay structure. And then in editing, you make sure you've got good grammar, good punctuation, and good APA or MLA. So revising and editing are both the last steps of the writing process. Revising and editing are the 2 tasks you undertake to significantly improve your essay. Both are very important elements of the writing process. You may think that a completed first draft means little improvement is needed. However, even experienced writers need to improve their drafts and rely on peers during revising and editing. You may know that athletes miss catches, fumble balls, or overshoot goals. Dancers forget steps, turn too slowly, or miss beats. For both athletes and dancers, the more they practice, the stronger their performances will become. Web designers seek better images, a more clever design, or a more appealing background for their web pages. Writing has the same capacity to profit from improvement and revision. Revising and editing allows you to examine 2 important aspects of your writing separately so that you can give each task your undivided attention. When you revise, you take a second look at your ideas. You might add, cut, move, or change information in order to make your ideas clearer, more accurate, more interesting, or more convincing. So that's what I mean by when you do revising, you are revising for essay structure. When you edit, then after you finish revision, then the very, very last thing you do is editing. When you edit, you take a second look at how you expressed your ideas. You add or change words. You fix any problems in grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. You improve your writing style. You make your essay into a polished, mature piece of writing, the end product of your best efforts. Many people hear the word critic, critical, and criticism and pick up only negative vibes that provokes feelings that make them blush, grumble, or shout. However, as a writer and thinker, you need to learn to be critical of yourself in a positive way and have high expectations for your work. You may also need to train your eye and trust your ability to fix what needs fixing. For this, you need to teach yourself what to look for. Creating unity and coherence. Following your outline closely offers you a reasonable guarantee that your writing will stay on purpose and not drift away from the controlling idea. However, when writers are rushed, tired, or cannot find the right words, their writing may become less than they want to be. Their writing may no longer be clear and concise, and they may be adding information that is not needed to develop the main idea. When a piece of writing has unity, all the ideas in each paragraph and in the entire essay clearly belong and are arranged in an order that makes logical sense. When the writing has coherence, the ideas flow smoothly. The wording clearly indicates how one feels, how one idea leads to another within a paragraph and from paragraph to paragraph. Creating unity. Sometimes writers get caught up in the moment and cannot resist a good digression. Even though you might enjoy such detours when you chat with friends, unplanned digressions usually harm a piece of writing. So when you reread your writing to find revisions to make, look for each type of problem in a separate suite. Read it straight through once to locate any problems with unity. Read it straight through a second time to find problems with coherence. You may follow this same practice during many stages of the writing process. Many companies hire copy editors and proofreaders to help them produce the cleanest possible final drafts of large writing projects. Copy editors are responsible for suggesting revisions and style changes. Proofreaders check documents for any errors in capitalization, spelling, and punctuation that have crept in. Many times, these tasks are done on a freelance basis. Creating coherence. Careful writers use transitions to clarify how the ideas in their sentence and paragraphs are related. These words and phrases help the writing flow smoothly. Adding transitions is not the only way to improve coherence, but they are often useful and give a mature feel to your essays. And so here you have a whole bunch of transition words that you can use for your essay. And another word for transition words are conjunctive adverbs. And so we've actually gone through that before. So transitions that show sequence of time: after, afterward, as soon as at first, at last, before long, finally, first, second, third, in the first place, later, meanwhile, next, soon, then. Transitions that show position. These tend to be prepositional phrases: above, at the top, beside, near, across, behind, beyond, next to, under, at the bottom, below, inside, opposite, where. Transitions that show a conclusion: indeed, in the final analysis, hence, therefore, in conclusion, thus. Transitions that continue a line of thought: consequently, because, in addition, looking further, furthermore, besides the fact, in the same way, additionally, following this idea further, moreover. Transitions that change a line of thought: but, nevertheless, yet, on the contrary, however, on the other hand. Transitions that show importance: above all, in fact, most, best, most important, worst, especially most important. Transitions that show final thoughts in a paragraph or essay: finally, most of all, last, least of all, in conclusion, last of all. And these transitions are used a lot in conclusion paragraphs. All-purpose transition: to open paragraphs or connect ideas inside paragraphs. Admittedly, granted, in general, no one denies, to be sure, at this point, it is true, in this situation, obviously, undoubtedly, certainly, generally speaking, no doubt, of course, unquestionably, for instance, for example. Transitions that clarify the order of events or steps: first, second, third, generally, furthermore, finally, in the first place, also last, in the first place, furthermore, finally, and in the first place, likewise, and lastly. Many writers make their revisions on a printed copy and then transfer them to the version on screen. They conventionally use a small arrow called a carré to show where to insert an addition or correction. Some writers are very methodical and painstaking when they write a first draft. Other writers unleash a lot of words in order to get all that they feel they need to say. Do either of these composing styles match your style, or is your composing style somewhere in between? No matter which description fits you, the first draft of almost every piece of writing, no matter its author, can be made clearer and more concise. If you have a tendency to write too much, you will need to look for unnecessary words. If you have a tendency to be vague or imprecise in your writing, you will need to find specific words to replace any overly general language. Identifying wordiness. Sometimes writers use too many words, when fewer words will appeal more to their audience and benefit their purpose. So here are some examples of wordiness. Too wordy. There are two major experiments the biology department sponsors. So get rid of there is and there are, and just write the biology department sponsors two major experiments. Sentences with unnecessary modifiers. Wordy. Two extremely famous, well-known consumer advocates spoke eloquently in favor of the proposed important legislation. Revised. Two well-known consumer advocates spoke in favor of the proposed legislation. So be judicious when you use phrases such as in terms of, a mind to, on the subject of, as to whether or not, more or less, as far as is concerned and similar expressions. Sentences in the passive voice with the forms of the verb to be. Sentences with passive voice verbs often create confusion because the subject of the sentence does not perform an action. So I always tell students to avoid the passive voice, and when they write an essay, use active voice. And so basically, when you write your essay and you want to sound like you're using formal English, because most college essays should be written in formal English, suitable for an academic situation. Avoid slang. Avoid language that is overly casual. Avoid contractions. Avoid cliches. Be careful when you use words that sound alike but have different meanings. Choose words with the connotations you want. Use specific words rather than overly general words. And use specific words rather than overly general words. And in this class, you guys got to do a lot of peer review. So after working so closely with a piece of writing, writers often need to step back and ask for a more objective reader. What writers most need is feedback from readers who can respond only to the words on the page. When they are ready, writers show their drafts to someone they respect and who could give an honest opinion about their paper. And so you too can ask someone to read your paper for you. After evaluating the feedback and assessing what is most useful, the reader's feedback will help you when you revise your draft. So when you have someone read over your paper, this process is called peer review. So you can work with a partner in your class and identify specific ways to strengthen each other's essays. Although you may be uncomfortable sharing your writing at first, remember that each writer is working toward the same goal, a final draft that fits the audience and the purpose. Maintaining a positive attitude when providing feedback will put you and your partner at ease. The purpose of peer feedback is to receive constructive criticism of your essay. Your peer reviewer is your real audience, and you have the opportunity to learn what confuses and delights a reader so that you can improve your work before sharing the final draft with a wider audience. It may not be necessary to incorporate every recommendation your peer reviewer makes. However, if you start to observe a pattern in the responses you receive from peer reviewers, you might want to take that feedback into consideration in future assignments. So use feedback from multiple sources. You might get feedback from more than one reader as you share different page stages of your draft. In this situation, you may receive feedback from readers who do not understand the assignment or who lack your involvement or enthusiasm about it. So you need to evaluate and determine if the feedback supports the purpose of the assignment, determine if the suggested revisions are appropriate to the audience. Then using these standards, accept or reject revision feedback. Editing your draft. If you have been incorporating each set of revisions, you have produced multiple drafts of your writing. So far, all of your changes have been content changes. Perhaps with the help of peer feedback, you made sure that you sufficiently supported your ideas. You have checked for problems with unity and coherence. You have examined your essay for word choice, revising to cut unnecessary words and to replace weak wording with specific and appropriate wording. So all of that is revision, where you're checking for your essay structure. The next step after revising the content is editing. When you edit, you examine the surface features of your text. You examine your spelling, grammar, usage, and punctuation. You also make sure you use the proper format when creating your finished, in other words, your APA. So make sure you've got, and then you could use this. This is an excellent revision checklist. So as you check over your paper, make sure that you fulfill all of these expectations. You can also look at your rubrics too. Your rubric in your classroom also tells you what are the expectations of all the assignments and how you're going to be graded. So make it a habit to look at your rubrics all the time. And so this is a good revision checklist you can keep by your side as you're looking over your paper, and make sure you check all of these sentences or the check boxes. Be careful about relying too much on spell checkers and grammar checkers. A spell checker cannot recognize that in other words, spell checkers have limitations. So if I want to write, I ate a piece of cake, and then I say, I ate a P-E-A-C-E, cake. No, it's P-I-E-C-E, cake, and it's world peace, P-E-A-C-E. So in other words, spell checker can't tell the difference between the meaning of world peace and piece of cake. In other words, it can't tell the difference between peace and peace. So that's why it's important that you know the correct usage of the difference between P-I-E-C-E, and P-E-A-C-E. Proofreading requires patience. It is very easy to read past a mistake. Set your paper aside for at least a few hours, if not a day or more, so your mind will rest. Some professional proofreaders read a text backwards so they can concentrate on spelling and punctuation. That's called glossing, okay, for our LAPU students. Another helpful technique is to slowly read a paper aloud, paying attention to every word, letter, and punctuation mark. So formatting. Remember to properly format your paper. Some schools prefer that you do it APA and others MLA. I've taught in both. So key takeaways. Revising and editing are the stages of the writing process in which you improve your work before producing a final draft. During revising, you add, cut, move, or change information in order to improve content. During editing, you take a second look at the words and sentences you use to express your ideas and fix problems in grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. Unity in writing means that all the ideas in each paragraph and in the entire essay clearly belong together and are arranged in an order that makes sense. Coherence in writing means that the writer's wording clearly indicates how one idea leads to another when a paragraph, within a paragraph and between paragraphs. Transitional words and phrases effectively make writing more coherent. Writing should be clear and concise with no unnecessary words. Effective formal writing uses specific, appropriate words, avoids slang, contractions, cliches, and overly general words. Peer reviews done properly can give writers objective feedback about their writing. It is the writer's responsibility to evaluate the results of peer reviews and incorporate only useful feedback. Remember to budget time for careful editing and proofreading. Use all available resources, including editing checklists, peer reviewing, and your institution's writing lab to improve your editing skills. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the Professor H Writing channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at any time.